and said, you are such a role model, and I'm not, it was because nobody had the balls to try it before, and it opened up possibilities for the kids, for the girls, for the young men, and that's what we've got to do. To bring the next generation along, we've got to have people like Kathleen Murphy, and Charnel Herring is now the caucus chair for the Democratic Party. We are making inroads, we are making success. We're just going to continue this. It's going to take a long time before someone says, I remember what Stewart-Reid said about this. I'm optimistic about this.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to go on to our last question. It's going to be a twofer. So get your questions ready, dear audience, because we're going to open up to the floor to Q&A after this set of answers. Just real quickly, who is a role model for you, and how do they inspire you? Why? So just real quick. And then more importantly, I say is, what advice do you give the next generation of women leaders and candidates? And by way of role model, I'm just going to, for myself, speak here, just being the moderator. I have always loved Alice Paul, who was imprisoned not far from here, in the Oppenheimer Red House, pertaining herself to the White House fence and saying, Kaiser Wilson, give us our rights during the middle of World War I. She spoke truth to power. She got us the 19th Amendment, women's right to vote. And we are still fighting for the other amendment that she had the Congress introduce on her behalf in the 1920s, and that's the Equal Rights Amendment. So please climb aboard that cause. Let's get the ERA in our lifetime. But again, just a role model, why, and advice for the future generations.
I would say my mother, who dropped out of college when she was 19 to marry my dad. Their relationship was not eventually successful. She put herself back through college while raising my brothers and me. She taught me to be strong and fierce and to never give up, and that hard work would help me be successful. And my advice is very similar to any young women. This is very, very hard work, and you're not alone. It's supposed to be hard. Don't give up. You're going to fall on your face a few times. You may be embarrassed, you may be humiliated, but you get back up and you dust yourself off and you say, I'm still here. Let's keep working.
So probably my greatest role model was my grandmother, my father's mother, who was the first superintendent of public welfare in the city of Radford. She held that position from 1936 until she retired in 1972 at the age of 70 to get remarried to somebody she dated when she was a teenager. My grandmother was really cool. And she was a working grandma. I mean, when I was a child in the 1970s, she got a college degree from Radford College like in 1921. But she was funny, and she told a great story. And cook, oh my gosh, the potato rolls at Radford High School, that's my granny's recipe. Everybody in Radford knows about those potato rolls. She did everything well. She sang in the choir. She was part of PTO. She had canasta parties. I mean, she was such a well-rounded, holistically engaged human being who did very, very important work as the superintendent of public welfare in a very small, rural, poor community. I think the advice that I have for the young women coming up, and for all young people, and I talk a lot to young people in the Democratic Party, is first of all, don't wait for somebody to give you permission to do something. Go out there and do it. You have to be resilient, and you may not win the first time, but one thing is for sure, if you never try, you will definitely never win. So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So you might as well get out there and see whether you can or you can't. And the other thing I would say to women candidates too, is don't let people tell you have to be the female version of male candidates. At some point, we've got to change the expectation and we have to change the environment. This should not be about, I understand what it takes to win, and I understand the candidate training wanting to prepare women to run in the environment we have today, right now. But at some point we have to push back and say, this system's not the best system. Women deserve to be who they are. There is a diversity of women. There's every kind of woman of every age, from every background, and they should run as who they are. And voters should accept that women have something of value to bring, no matter what they look like, or how they speak, or how they present themselves, because that is the diversity of the people of the United States of America.
So I guess I should stand on the genetic bandwagon and say that I too admire most my mother. She's pretty cool for a Republican. She graduated from high school. That's the extent of her education, and she was pretty busy raising 5 of us. And out of my 5 siblings, it was never a matter of, are you going to college? It's which college are you going to? And for someone who had never been, and neither had any of her sisters or siblings ever been to college, that was just, it wasn't even a choice. It was, which college are you going to? So I give her credit for that, because I think what she did was she instilled this ethic into us, sort of what you're saying, Catherine, is that if you want to do it, then just go do it. Stop whining about it. Just go out and do it. You can do it. Just whatever you want to do. And so as a result, from 5 kids that have a mother with a high school education and a father with a 6th grade education, 3 of us are doctors, and we all have college degrees. So I think that it speaks a lot about really empowering people to believe in themselves. And I think that's really an important issue that we really do need to pass on to the younger generation, especially women. We shouldn't be so worried about what other people think about us, or we're worried about whether or not people like us. Sometimes people aren't going to like you, that's just life, but you have to just get up and move on and be true to yourself. Be honest and have integrity, and really work to make it better for other people. It's surprising, because when I was in graduate school in OBGYN, abortion hadn't been in place that long. Roe v. Wade was not that old. And so there were people that really stood before us that made choices that we have more accessible. We need to pass that on, and the younger generation needs to pick up that flag and go forward with it as well. And we need to do all we can that we can encourage people in our own generation, more so the younger generation.
So in this context today, I'll say my mom and my 5th grade teacher. My mom took me to vote at every single time and let me push the button, pull the lever, and pull back the curtain. And it was the best thing ever, and I've been in love with this process since then. I remember those days as a kid, and my 5th grade teacher saying, so as a Black woman, I remember how hard it was to get this right to vote, and so I'm never going to forget that. And so I have that memory of her, and so I make sure I use it. It is ingrained in me from being a kid, and I would say I am inspired by young people now. They are fierce, some of them, and they are. I work for Girls for Change for Girls on the Run as a program manager in Richmond, and they are amazing kids. And in the House pages this year, I got this frantic email from Morgan, and they were like, turn it on, they're debating this abortion ban on the House floor, these 13-year-olds, and these girls were kicking butt. They were like killing these boys. They had, I'm going to summarize in 6 points why this is ridiculous, right? So they were amazing leaders. They are active and engaged and show that we have an incredible future, so I am inspired by them.
Well, with apologies to my mother. She's great. She's 94. She lives alone in the country. I'm proud of her. But I'm going to choose as my role model Mother Jones. She was a great labor leader, but she overcame terrible tragedy. Her entire family, her husband and 4 children, all died of the yellow fever. And she coined the slogan, mourn for the dead, but fight like hell for the living. And one of the great things that she did, besides leading a lot of labor struggles among miners,